welcome back. So glad to see you here. Today, there is so much energy on this set, it's amazing that the set is still here. My name is Vin Dacquino. Our guest is the amazing composer, author, amazingly creative, Hayden Wayne. Hayden! Can't believe you're here. You have so much to say. We hope we can get it all in.
My mother said that too.
Really? Hayden, who are you? What do you do? And talk to me about your creativity, my man.
There's about 10 questions in that one
Yeah,
sentence.
at least.
I'm from a showbiz family. My
That's
father
cool.
was a human anthology. He couldn't request anything from the International Songbook that he couldn't play in any key.
Wow.
My mother was an Earl Carroll vanity girl. Vanity's a 44. She was gorgeous and brilliant. And life at home was not boring. And I basically started, I guess, in vitro music, showbiz, but formally started taking lessons at 4. And then my father had the hubris of throwing me in an orchestra pit, playing tenor drum
Oh, wow.
for a production of The King and I that he was conducting. And that was a strange bifurcation because it was like, well, that's my dad. No, it wasn't, that's the conductor. Seminal moment in my life.
Never missed a beat?
Never missed a beat, but I remember also the bassoonist didn't like me.
Uh-oh.
Life goes on, you're playing, rock and roll is born into me. God, what a time to be. I do not bemoan being born in 1949 whatsoever. It was analog, we talked with each other. There was a new American original that was specifically a platform for the youth to relish and wallow in and just be boisterous about.
And enjoy life.
Yeah, well, but you know, being fair though, rock and roll wouldn't have existed if it weren't for jazz, because by the time jazz was morphing into its many splits, specifically, you know, getting into rhythm and blues and that, you would not have rock and roll without rhythm and blues, and the father of rock and roll, Chuck Berry, would have not been able to shepherd it in as such. But then there was that whole transformation of life, and I go into my pubescent years and, you know, sexual exploration.
Uh-oh, let's not go there.
It's already behind me, so you have to worry about that. But the soundtrack was the Beatles. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, and I'm not trying to raise someone's hackles, but that is a seminal experience because that was a micro-renaissance. It changed everything on the planet.
It did.
It changed all the other formations of music and art. There was a whole different thing. On and on and on, and my father was, when I told my father by the time I was 14 that I wanted to be a professional musician, he was really against it.
Really?
He
Well,
said,
because
no, a certain invective way. But Dad, you know.
Yeah, I hear you.
And about 4 hours later of this incredible summit at the kitchen table, he and my mother ultimately recognized my resolve, and he said, well, all right. He said, look, I can't give you a business like your neighbors, your father's friends, you know, your friend's father, sorry. But I'll help you where I can, but you're going to have to do it on your own. Yeah, right. Oh, God. And from that point on, relentless.
Yeah, now you're amazingly prolific. When did all this begin? I mean, how many books in
I don't know how many books, 13 books, but there's over 400 works.
Wow.
And I'm a late bloomer. That's what's extraordinary, because I was such a serious wannabe. But the thing that's fascinating about that, you can't do anything in life if you don't have an ego. If you have the vanity, you're going to cut your own throat. Yeah, I'm gonna, and then someone from behind you's going, in your head going, yeah, really, guy? Yeah. Really? Oh,
One thing I
God.
learned very quickly, talkers talk, writers write.
Well,
You can't just talk about it. You have to actually do something.
well, but yeah, that's true. I know where you're going with that, but talking with David McCullough, you know, it's because when you listen to the way he speaks and you read the way he writes, his writing is the way he speaks.
Yeah.
And one thing I specifically learned from him, that we concur on that, is that when you're reading your work, you're hearing it not only in a neuroplastic way, a different departmentalization, you're really hearing an alliterated, onomatopoetic musicality to language, where you go like, oh, I don't like that. Let me take that word out. But that was a better. No, it wasn't. It doesn't sing. It doesn't sing. So it's so important to read your work out loud, all the time.
Yep.
Even if they think you're crazy, just read your work out loud. And
I have a strange question for you. I asked this question to a writer one time, and she answered beautifully. You know, I said to her, do you have a favorite work that you've done? And she said, oh, Vinny, that's like saying, do I have a favorite child? All my children were special in special ways.
absolutely.
So do you have a favorite piece that you did? Something that you could say, this is Hayden.
Let me answer that a different way.
Okay?
Remembering, I'm running numbers in my head now, remembering copyright dates, creation dates. There are seminal moments in my creativity that really created a seismic change of perception.
There you go.
I've got to say, let me short myself first. You have to appreciate something. Well, I don't mean it that way, like forcing you to think this way, but I firmly believe that our work is nothing more than the documented proofs of our meditation. And,
Well said.
only history will determine its worth.
Well said.
Critics are fascinating to me because, first of all, if a critic puts your work down, they remain superior. If they acknowledge the work, they're bringing themselves on even keel. If they really congratulate the creator, they're relegating themselves less than the person they're addressing. How many people amongst us are willing to do that? So I don't take critics seriously. Also, for a very selfish reason, because if I like my good reviews, I have to accept my bad reviews.
Yeah,
so I don't listen to anything. I read it all, but I go like, great.
But you have a poem that's you.
Well, I'll read something, the latest thing that happened, because
Okay.
and I know it's seminal to all of us. I won't even say anything about it because you'll recognize certain phrase and you go, oh yeah. But I remember I was working, composing, and I got a text from my son. He goes, oh my God, and and I don't want to spoil it. And I went, what? So I stopped and I found myself almost weeping watching this. No one is allowed to touch in spite of all the yearning, needing love so very much, and Notre Dame is burning.
Whoa.
Suicide, the latest fad, complete society's gone mad, too caught up to know how sad things to first get really bad. And science is no longer in, theology our origin, and our youth on heroin. The sky has truly fallen. And Nero plays with no concerns, the art of the deal and what it earns, how much is enough and all it turns, and Notre Dame is burning. The arbiter of truth, the news, sold out to make a buck, selling advertising space. They just don't give a. Yeah. And we all know the lies they sell, but nothing can be done. They know their power, untouchable, and hurt us for the fun. Drowning from political thugs, no conversation safe from bugs, loneliness, the heart it tugs, and Notre Dame is burning. Where is the moral outrage in the taking to the streets? It's just boot-licking selfie-dom and one-upsmanship through tweets. This orange menace turning red, impending conflagration, this selfish decadence unleashed will undermine each nation. Too dumb to know the reason why, too arrogant for learning, and more each day we die, and Notre Dame is burning. And shouts of let it burn by those so well protected, and all the rest of us in turn are not at all respected. and all the children put in cages, and all the workers stagnant wages, and no one listens to the sages of the coming war and how it rages. Dispose this rank and file who are sycophantly vested, while hinterland screams, "Seek Heil!" and our Constitution tested. The indifference disconcerting, through apathy perverting, a dictatorship is flirting with shouts of "Let it burn." Oh, Notre Dame, my Notre Dame, our Notre Dame, sweet Notre Dame. The forest, tree-sized timbers that held the copper roof is now all burnt to embers, and the world remains aloof.
Beautifully done. Beautifully done.
I wrote that.
Frightening, but beautifully done.
It's Notre Dame is the most powerful metaphor of the human condition that has yet been outdone.
Yep.
Why Notre Dame was allowed to be put in a position of self-destruction is astounding. You're talking about an edifice where Henry IV was married in front of it to, is it Margaret de Louvois? Henry was ultimately assassinated. Napoleon announced himself emperor. Henry VI was married there. We're talking history. And if you don't regard history, not only are you demonstrating your ignorance, you're allowing yourself to be put in a position for it to repeat itself, because that's just what history does.
Yep. I've said so many times and have been quoted in several columns as saying, if we don't teach the children of today about their yesterday, we're going to steal some of their tomorrow. They need to know what came before.
Well, but you know what's funny about that? Not only, let's end the thought of the children and be totally selfish. We steal our tomorrow.
Yeah.
If anybody wants to consider longevity being perpetually continuous, and I'm not talking Christian from the standpoint of resurrection, I'm talking resurrection from the standpoint that the message outlives the messenger. What better way for us to prove our immortality than through our children? This moment is sacred for the next 7 generations. You want to stay young? Find someone to apprentice and teach them your skills.
Yep. Yeah.
There is a hubris now and a tribal consciousness that is creating such intractable positions. Let me say something to everyone out there. The next time someone gets into your face and blah, 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 say to them, why are you so angry? Why are you being political? Where's the solution? Where's the solution? And if they go blah, 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 again, cut them loose, walk away. They have none. We are down at the bow. We're taking on water. We're going to have to really learn quickly how to land on our feet. There is no time to be as erudite as hell talking about everything that is wrong, because by the end of the day, all we're doing is adding weight to the negative. There is only time for solutions, and we better become one or we're going to be extinct. The food industry alone has demonstrated through absolute, unquestionable science that we may be extinct in 100 years. Let me scare you. In 1960, 4% of the American population had immunodeficiency diseases. Today, 46% of our children. In 1975, 1 in 5,000 was autistic, and the spike rose in 2012. Today, 1 in 36. The projection is 1 in 3 by 2035, 1 in 2 by 2050. 1 in 4 women is sterile. 1 in 3 men is sterile. We consume 120 grams of antibiotics a year without even taking drugs. It's in the preservatives. The neonicotinoids and herbicides that are sprayed on everything have not only killed all the bees, which is pollinization, which Einstein specifically cited, you lose the bees, you lose your society. But they're killing 3 specific amino acids in our body to stay healthy. Those of us who are old enough, who had the formation of our microbiome, before this, when the invent of fast food was really an adjective for delivery system, not the content of food, well, we have a different structural foundation and less disease. The rise, what are we, something 8 to 12 million people a year getting cancer? This is, your medicine's at the end of a fork. And the pharmaceutical industry wants to only deal with symptom causes, not root causes, because it's the profit chain. It's analogous to all the wars we're in. Once we dropped the bomb, which I believe was the correct thing to do by Truman because it saved a potential 1 million casualties, war sucks. And I'm against war. And we didn't even have to have the 2 world wars, which were really 1 world war. The First World War didn't have to happen. It was really an excuse to break up the Austro-Hungarian Empire. There was a ceasefire called Versailles, where they then divided up in a ceasefire the next operational theater for 100 years of war. Iraq, Iran, Yugoslavia, snubbing Ho Chi Minh. It's terrifying. But the bomb came and went, oh my God, we ended war. Where are our profits? And now you have all these fleets of munitions off of Japan. Well, half went to Korea and half went to Indochina. Do you realize that 143,000 Americans have died since World War II in undeclared wars? It's about money. This is what killed Jack, which took the innocence out of society. Those of us who recognize it are still innocent. Guess what, gang? You only have youth with innocence. We're the youngest in the room. And it's our moral responsibility to teach the youth how to become innocent again, or it's over. Be that as it may, let me read a love poem and clear the room. As negative as that sounds, your microbiome begins healing itself in 2 days. It changes its lining in 5 to 7 days. There's a vagus nerve. The whole point is not to have inflammation. Inflammation will lead to all kinds of cataclysmic diseases, including dementia, heart disease, the whole 9 yards. It's terrifying. So, whether you have gluten intolerance or not, be gluten-free. Because you don't want to have a leaky gut where a molecule comes out, the cavalry is sent out to investigate what's this, and you have inflammation. It goes up the vagus nerve. Now everything is getting heated up. No good. Organic, you want to stay away from all pesticides if you can. It's a tough haul. And the most important thing you have to do is not eat out of lust anymore. Stay away from sugar. Fructose is a toxin. The body doesn't metabolize fructose like it does alcohol, which will make you tipsy. But the next time your grandchild or a young child asks for apple juice and it's got fructose in it, give them a can of beer. It does the same thing to the body. Anyway, let me read a love poem because I've got to clear the air of this. This is not negative, this is education. You got to grow up, gang. We got to save ourselves and save what is possible through solution. But anyway, within the fog of my exhaustion, I think of you, the depth of your passion, the soft inviting touch of all your lips which engulfed me with such willingness, flexed with wanting, drowning me in unfathomable wetness, so united we could not separate our smells. This memory which I call home is so strong, beckoning me with your siren's song, while I sit out at sea, yearning to find your safe harbor once more. How I long to nestle along your warming shore. You are most generous. I kissed you with the passion of a wild man, deprived of such abundance for so long, but still aware of all that is possible. How I undid you, and how you allowed yourself to be undone. The spreading of your desire and the succulence that it brought forth. I embraced your teeming shore as you sheltered me once more, surrounding me, securing me again within you. Through all the tranquility of time and space, there is my addiction just to see your face. I am lost in every place without you. Show me where to come. Once again, I wish to enter your luscious harbor, the receptiveness of your lips, and my need for repeated sips of the elixir to heal my arid void within. Flood me with your warming spring, refreshing this thirsty being, your legend that I now must sing for all eternity. The other who makes me whole, as if we were but just one soul. A sea so still begins to roll, a tidal wave is rising, pushing me to your waiting arms. And as I slip into your port so deep I'll moor securely, you will hold me fast and safe and dispel my fears and wanting. I will be at rest, finally at rest, once more a welcomed rest with you whom I call home.
Beautifully done, once again. Would be a great time to show some of your covers of your books. You've written many books, and you have many messages. I could probably listen to you all day, Hayden. There's so many important things that you have to say. And obviously, your books and your compositions are your voice. This is one, Off the Edge of the Planet and Hanging by My Fingertips. Mm-hmm. That seems to fit right in with some of the things you're saying here today.
What's interesting about that book, if you can get a close-up of this one, Barking at the Moon and Other Conversations with the Sun.
We may even have that on there.
I think you do, but that started out, well, it's very interesting. All my books started out somewhat like a diary. Because I was time dating all my creations. And then as I was tightening it up and putting it together for release, I had a revelation. I had a revelation about all the libretti I had written for the symphonic works, specifically this choral symphony. And I went, wow, and all of a sudden the whole book changed on a dime. It just locked everything and the formatting changed, and it became this wonderful, specific, Off the Edge of the Planet Hanging by My Fingertips. I leave, in my final statement there, to go separate myself to write the Ninth Symphony, which is a choral symphony, which is, the sixth is the gift, the ninth is the tuning, is the invocation. So writing the libretto and the entire symphony, I was also writing poetry and other things. So that's what that book became, Off the Edge of the Planet Hanging by My Fingertips.
No, I also want to make sure that your website is up on the screen, because
Hayden Wayne at HaydenWayne.com is the website.
We can't get through all of the things that you've done, but I want this audience to understand that
go to YouTube, put my name in. There are 500 videos from the Howland Cultural Center where I'm documenting all the poets of the Valley. Our doors are open to everyone, but we've got some amazing hitters. And I was born in the Bronx, y'all. So if someone's going, well, you're up in somewhere in, nowhere. Yeah, well, let me tell you, I'll take my crew and sit with anybody in New York and shake a tree. Yeah. There's some gifted people here who just separated themselves from the BS.
Yep. Hayden, we're down to about the last 2.5 minutes.
I feel better than that, though.
Yeah. Question. What do you want to leave them with?
Now's the time to take to the streets, literally, figuratively, and metaphorically. Every young person, teach. Everyone in your own families, make sure you're teaching and inspiring to learn. Turn the television off. It's a distraction.
Yeah.
They have clinically proven addiction to the cell phone is lowering your IQ 10 points a year. And this endorphin rush, the serotonin endorphin rush, is creating absolute addicts who cannot work anymore. They don't know how to work, and they don't have a willingness to work. We have a major job ahead of us to save the younger generation from extinction. And we have the duress of watching them disappear, because we're going to outlive everyone.
So, what is your next major work?
Well, I just finished the 10th Symphony,
Wow.
Dances for the Far Side of the Moon. And I wrote the lyrics to Notre Dame is Burning April 16th, and then the 11th of May I wrote the music, so that's already out. I'm looking to make that an anthem, so I'm already constructing a studio situation to make that something for people to have consumption and hear it.
Wow.
Because it's all said in that. And the idea is just to wake up, drop the politics, let's just find solutions.
Yeah.
The biggest solution is education, a guarantee of being healthy through healthcare, and what we eat is food, and infrastructure. Infrastructure by its sheer self-outing means education. It means everything. It's a win-win-win. If we put $3 trillion into infrastructure, we will trebuchet ourselves into the 23rd century.
So,
1 minute.
1 minute. So, bottom line is cut the bull
Touche.
and get to work.
Yep. And have fun.
Yeah, that's right.
This isn't bitter pill, gang. You're not going to be bored. Boredom is the thing that creates this listlessness, which will be the cancer of your own psyche and emotional state of being.
Yeah.
Lighten the F up and
Yep.
have a ball.
And live. Speaking of living, you want to really live? Stay tuned to this show. Stay with us and join me in thanking the incredible
Oh, well, thank you.
Hayden Wayne.
Thank you, boss.
Keep doing what you're doing. Your voice
I don't have
is
a
being
choice.
heard. I hear you. Your voice is being heard. Go to his website. Hear what he has to say. Thank you for being part of One on One with Mr. Hayden Wayne.